Hello and welcome to the July update for the Universal Studios UK project. I've been holding off making this video because there wasn't really much to talk about and I don't want to waste your time with stuff that's completely irrelevant. But then over the last few days and even just a couple of hours ago, a bunch of different things have come out that are all really good news for the project. I think they're all really good signs. But there's still no confirmation. And I want to say that at the beginning of the video, there is still no official confirmation from Universal Studios that they are moving ahead with the project. But I think we can be pretty confident that it is happening. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like on it. It really does help. Don't forget to subscribe and let's get stuck into the news. So the first thing that's really interesting is that Universal Studios, or Universal Destinations and Experiences, the sort of company within Universal Studios and Comcast that deals with this kind of thing, have put up a new job advertisement for a director of operations in new ventures. Now, the description of this job shows that it's in Florida. It's not a UK-based job, but it's going to be involved in kind of doing lots of planning and managing the planning of a new destination and liaising with government agencies. So it sounds like this is quite a senior role within the organization, specifically designed to be like overseeing the planning of this entire project. Now that makes me think this whole thing's quite a long way off. We've heard before that maybe the park's meant to be opening in 2030, and that sounds kind of reasonable. If they're only just in the hiring process, which could take quite a long time, if they're just in the hiring process for somebody to oversee the planning of it, I think we're going to be waiting quite a long while before we start seeing like planning permission and getting all of those juicy documents from something like that. But the fact that they are hiring someone for it at least shows that, you know, they're not completely writing off the project or anything like that. Now, you could take this with a grain of salt because it doesn't actually say in the job advert that this is anything to do with the UK at all. So it's entirely possible that they could be talking about a new destination somewhere else. Obviously, Universal are constantly involved in sort of scouting new locations and things like that. They're building the horror thing in Vegas. So there are other things that Universal Studios are involved with, but those projects are quite, you know, far along. I think it would be surprising if this was a job role for anything to do with that. I think this sounds like it is connected to the UK project, but it's just, you know, a little bit disappointing that maybe they haven't got these things in place already. I was kind of hoping that we were going to start seeing some planning permission documents going in by the end of the year, but I think that's probably a bit optimistic now. The second bit of news that, again, very positive for the project is that Universal, or, you know, the companies that they've been using to buy stuff up for this, have been buying some residential properties around the site. So there's this road called Manor Road that drives through the site, and there's a bunch of houses on that road. Now, they've bought at least two of the houses. I think one of them, the purchase was completed in March, and one of them was in May. So obviously, they will need to reach an agreement with the people that own these properties already, work out to pay them. I think usually with these things, they're kind of, okay, we'll pay you over market price, so we can get this all done quickly, and then the people who live in those properties are kind of covered for the inconvenience of having to move house, etc. So it's not quite like a cruel thing exactly. It would suck if, you know, that's your home that you've built up over decades and then suddenly this big American company comes along and is like turfing you out of it. But generally, I think they try to sort of reach a fair deal with stuff like that, and it has to happen for these big projects to be bought. But it looks like they are in that process of buying up those properties, and, you know, two of them, the purchases have gone through and it's all public information now. So that's kind of interesting. And again, why would they be doing this if they'd decided that the site wasn't suitable? I'm always, you know, drawn to those comments that I get sometimes about my videos where people are saying, oh, this isn't going to happen, I've got an inside knowledge, and they've abandoned all of this because of the surveys or something like that. And then something like this comes out and it's like, well, clearly you're lying, or clearly you're just misunderstanding something, because why would they be buying these residential properties if that wasn't happening? So the other thing that's a bit interesting is I wanted to look up on Google Maps to get a bit for this video of where these properties are that they've bought. And there's now like a little tag on Google Maps for Universal Destinations and Experiences. So if you want to see for yourself where this location is and, you know, how long it would take you to drive to it and all stuff like that, you can do that now on Google Maps. Just search for Universal Destinations and Experiences Bedford, I guess, and then it should be able to come up on Google Maps straight away. I'm not sure if Universal add this or it's just a community thing, but it's super useful if you're trying to find the site, so that's super handy. Now, the third thing I wanted to talk about, and this I don't think is really super important news, but again, it's a positive sign, is that there's been a letter of support written by 6 separate councils. Kind of Bedford Borough Council are the ones who are leading this, but they've said that they've written a letter of support for the project to the government, you know, the new government, the new Labour government. Obviously, we just had a general election and now there's a Labour government in charge. So 6 of the councils kind of involved in this, because obviously it's happening within Bedford Borough Council, but it will affect all of the other councils in the region. They've all written to the government saying, like, we fully support this, we want this to go ahead, this is going to be great for the area. And that's like a major thing, like not having any kind of antagonistic councils who are kind of standing in the way of this is a really, really positive thing, I think. And it might help to, you know, persuade the government, although I get the impression from absolutely everything I've heard that the government is already in support of this. And then finally, the most interesting thing to me, and the reason that I decided to make this video today rather than waiting any longer, is that a couple of hours ago, at the time of recording this video, Bedford Today, which is obviously a local Bedford newspaper, posted an article saying that things are still on track on the project, but there's been a bit of a delay because of the election. So apparently there was this committee from the government, you know, they wanted to talk to people from Bedford Borough Council about the project and like how it's coming along. Someone was meant to be giving a presentation, but they didn't turn up to the meeting for whatever reason. So instead, the committee were asking another council representative about what they knew about the project. And they were saying that the general election has maybe delayed things a little bit because Universal, like everybody else, didn't really expect it to happen, except for maybe some of the Conservatives who put bets on it happening. But most people didn't expect it to happen. So that kind of put a bit of a spanner in the works. So they had to kind of wait to see what the outcome of that was. And one of the outcomes that have been a bit negative for the project is that Fangam Debonair, who was the MP who was in the shadow cabinet, so in charge of culture and sports and stuff, so it was kind of the Labour MP who was overseeing this project, you know, their point of contact for this project in the situation that Labour ended up getting in charge. She actually lost her seat in the election. So she is not now in the cabinet as the culture and sports secretary. Instead, it's Lisa Nandy. So that just means that Universal now have to work with someone new. And obviously there's a bit of a process involved in that of, you know, updating them on everything, getting their opinions. Lisa Nandy might have slightly different concerns, slightly different kind of needs, a different agenda with all of this. So they're having to work with someone new. That's going to take a little bit longer. Also, this council representative said that they didn't know what they could say as an update because they'd signed an NDA. So they were like, okay, I know more than I'm saying now, but I can't make some things public because I've signed an NDA, and they weren't sure exactly what that covered. So they were sort of playing it safe, which, you know, makes sense. That's what you do when you're under NDA. But they said it sounds like everything was going well, and it sounds like agreements will be made soon. So all sounds super positive. And the fact that there's an NDA on this, obviously that's kind of common within business for them to not talk about these sort of things publicly before they're properly announced. I think there's lots of requirements to do with, you know, shareholders and investors and things like that they all have to get told at the same time. But I think it's still probably a positive sign. Like the fact that they're saying, okay, yeah, everything's going well, but there's an NDA, so I can't talk about everything that we know yet. Sounds like there is more to know. You know, there's more progress maybe that hasn't been made public. But yeah, it sounds really positive, sounds really exciting. I'm excited that there's a bit more news. I'm excited that we've got a little bit more to talk about. I don't think there's going to be any super juicy details until we start getting those planning documents and still they start saying, okay, this is exactly where each area of the park will be. This is what the ride buildings will look like and stuff like that. That'll be absolutely amazing. But between now and whenever that is, I'll keep you updated with any progress. And of course, as soon as we get that confirmation from Universal, then I'll make a video and let you know all the details. So make sure you subscribe, turn the notifications on. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.